If you've ever felt uninspired and bored with your chord selection as it sounds something like this, but instead you always wanted them to sound more like this. Then in this video I'm going to share with you 3 simple steps on how to create chords that actually sound f***ing amazing. And if you're new here, then welcome. I'm Lucas, the guy behind Modern Guitar Course, and I specialize in helping intermediate guitar players to get out of that rut and taking their playing to that advanced level. If that resonates, then let's have a chat about how I can help you. Link in the description. And let's now dive into the video. The first step when it comes down to creating chords that sound killer is being aware that we can structure the notes around any way we want. We don't need to follow any order of how we play those certain notes within the chords. And that's something that I've realized confuses a lot of intermediate guitar players. So let's first establish a regular chord so we've got our starting point. So let's say C major. Everyone's fully aware of this chord. The use intervals are root note, major third and the fifth, but in this instance it's structured as follows: root note, fifth, octave, which is just repetition of the root note, and the major third on top. And you've got more variations on how you can structure this chord, such as 1, 3, 5 and the octave of root note here. Another way of how we can structure these intervals is the root note, major third, and then the same intervals just an octave higher, root note and major third. Just this approach itself can already yield some beautiful chord melodies. The only thing that I'm doing here is just using the root note, the third, and just repeating an octave higher, and just going in between the major chords and minor chords. If you're interested in how to quickly find all of the chords you can use on the fretboard in any key, then you can find a video somewhere around here where you will learn all that in just 3 minutes. And now the same thing that we just went through with the C major applies to minor chords as well. Regular A minor chord, the root note, fifth, octave and a minor third. We can also play it going to the left, 1, 3, 5, 8. Or getting rid of the fifth interval as we don't need it here, and just playing the root note, minor third, root note, minor third by just octave higher. So the main takeaway is to mix and match those intervals around to see where they sound the best. You might, for example, realize you don't like to play the fifth here, but you prefer playing an octave higher on the B string. Awesome, so play around as you might already find some incredible variations. Now the step number 2 is replacing the fifth. Without me sounding mean towards the fifth interval, sometimes I see it as interval that is not really needed and we can replace it for other notes that actually give us way more flavor. So let's now have a look at how we can do it. Back to our C major. And if we take the fifth and move it to the right, we get the C major 6 with a duplicate of root note. Or we can shift it to the left and have the duplicate of major third instead. Or we can just get rid of the duplicates and introduce the fifth interval back on the B string. We have root note, the 6, major third and the fifth. The same thing is happening with the minor chords as well, where if we're in the Aeolian mode, we have the flat 6, root note, flat 6, octave and minor third, or we have the root, minor third, flat 6 and minor third, or as before bringing the fifth back, we end up with root, flat 6, minor third and a fifth. And inside of the Dorian mode, instead of the flat 6, we would have regular 6. So same as before, root, 6, octave and minor third. Or we have root, minor third, 6 and a minor third. Or as before, bringing the fifth back, we end up with root note, 6, minor third and a fifth. And as before, you can always play the 6th interval octave higher. Awesome, as you now get that point, you can try in your own time replacing the 5th with the 4th interval. While it's a beautiful chord, it's not one that I choose very often. That's why instead let's move to step number 3, and that is replacing the root note octave. If you're running low on fingers, then the first step is getting rid of any duplicate notes in your chord, such as here with the C major. No need to have the C note here twice, so straight away let's raise it up by 2 frets to the 9th interval, which is just the 2nd interval, but octave higher. So we go 2 plus 7 equals 9. And we have this beautiful C major add 9 chord. Root, 5th, 9th and the major 3rd. We can also play it going to the left, so we have root note, major 3rd, 5th and the 9th. And instead of the 5th interval, we can add the 6th that we've learned before. Root note, major 3rd, major 6 and a 9. And this beautiful chord is known as the C major 6-9. Awesome, and the same thing is happening for the minor chords as well. Taking the octave and moving it up to the 9th. We've got the A minor add 9 chord. And if we move the notes to the left, then we end up with root note, minor 3rd, 5th and the 9th. And again we can replace the 5th with the flat 6 for extra flavor. Perfect, so the last thing I want to briefly touch bases is the C major, where we've increased the octave to the 9. So the opposite way would be lowering the octave, which is number 8, to number 7, which is the major 7 for the major chord. And we've got plenty of another variations and combinations of how we can approach it, such as regular C major 7. We can place the 5th octave higher. And then for the minor 7th chord, we need to lower by half step the major 3rd and minor 3rd. Or we can get rid of the 5th interval and just play root note, minor 3rd and the minor 7. Or take the 5th and raise it up by half step to flat 6, and we have this beautiful C minor 7 flat 6 chord. Don't worry, I'll create a separate video just covering the 7th chords, as that's a topic for the entire video itself, as they continue to major 7, minor 7, dominant, half diminished, diminished. So somewhere around here you should be able to find a video. But regardless, you should be now full of ideas for your next song, and in order not to get overwhelmed, I would recommend just taking a few of those chord concepts that you really like the sound of and consciously incorporating them into a nice chord melody. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to go through it as many times as you need to really get your head around it so you can start using it in your own playing. And if you've enjoyed this video and you've learned valuable information, please let me know by hitting the like button. And as mentioned, if you're feeling stuck with your playing and just can't figure out on your own how to get to that advanced level to have the ultimate freedom over your instrument, then click the first link in the description. Don't worry, there is no webinar, free training, none of that. It's just a video of me telling you how I can help you to get there. In full transparency, it is a website designed to sell you something. I'm not going to pretend it's not. You don't have to click it. I really don't mind if you click it or not. But if you had enough of being stuck with your playing, then feel free to check it out. Apart from that, thank you so much for being here and supporting this channel. So just keep shredding, and I'll see you in the next video.